So I joined the Venice fishing group, because when we first started fishing Venice, we were like, we probably need to see like what's going on down there. And like you kept popping up over and over again, like very decent sized trout, which is like was impressive. And then you just kept showing up and up and up. And I was like, this guy obviously has it figured out. And I think we had cross paths maybe at one point where, like, there was the freeze, and then I think I'd said I got a picture from a friend that was like, "This is out in Breton Island," and I think you had asked, like, "Where was this taken at?" And I think I said, "It's Breton Island." It's like, "I don't think so. It looks like it was taken over here," and I'm guessing, you have very intimate knowledge of all of that, but, yeah, I mean, in terms of guys that fish down there, I mean, you seem to be very prevalent. We talked to other anglers that fish down there, and they're like, Harold Wilcox, absolute legend, and I just assumed that you had grown up down there, and then I found out they're like, "No, man, he's like a" the legend is that he's like a school teacher from, from Tennessee or from out of state, and that this was a hobby growing up, but, I we'll get the real story today. That's kinda how I got my introduction to you.
Yeah, and I kinda found you the same way, was I think I saw a post in Venice Fishing Group that you posted that caused a big fuss about, "Can fish see fluorocarbon underwater?" And you had a picture of your line when you were wade fishing. Th
Wasted.
Yeah, but you posted it in, like, I don't know, it was in, like, December, and everyone was, like, arguing about why you'd be wade fishing in December, obviously not the reason you posted it. So then, of course, I started seeing you pop up more and more after that, and I didn't need anybody to tell me you were a legend. Your cutting board with the that are way longer than it, that told me that you were a legend, and there was almost daily. So I was like, as soon as I started going down to Venice, obviously, like Nathan said, you see who you need to know, and you were one of
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the flowers.
them.
Absolutely.
One of the guys.
So, yeah, how did you get started fishing? Well, obviously there's a lot of rumors swirling around, but, take us back to the beginning. Where is
Well,
Harry Wilcox from?
I'm originally from South Carolina.
Okay.
I don't know whether you've ever heard of the Santee Cooper Lakes over there, big bass fishing lakes, uh,
Yeah.
you know, 175,000 acres. And as a pre-teenager, I used to wade fish for brim. It was 7 miles down a dirt road, and I used to ride my bicycle down there because both my parents worked. I was a latchkey kid. I lived out in the country from a one-stoplight town, and I'd ride my bicycle down there, and I'd wade. We called an area called the cow pastures because when they flooded the lakes over there back at the start of Second World War, they flooded the lakes before they got all the timber cut and left a lot of structure in the lake. And I'd wade. Back then, we would take a cane pole and put about 18 inches of line, maybe 2 feet, a couple of buckshot, split shots, and a hook. And we would dig worms and put them in a coffee can around our neck and wade around the willow trees and bushes, button bushes, and find brim bedding. We had a basket on our side made out of chicken wire, and we would catch those fish and put them in that basket. And that was my start to wade fishing. Well, truly, I was a pre-teenager doing that. And I know, yeah, I got my dad, I guess for my 10th, 12th birthday, my dad gave me a Mitchell 300 spinning reel. And I was on then. I took my spinning reel down there and I went to the hardware store and bought a devil horse. And I started wading the same area, and there's old submerged creek bed there with an old log laying across it. And I threw that devil horse out there and twitched it a couple of times. And I caught me about a 3 or 4 pound largemouth bass. It's on,
Nice.
boys.
And man, hooked you from then, huh?
Yeah, and then I went to college and came back and started, bass guiding on Santee Cooper Lakes during the summer when I was in college, and after I graduated, I was teaching school, assistant principal of high school, and I'd take all my sick days to bass guide in the spring. And,
Nice.
hey, I'd even take my bass fishermen down to the lower lake, Lake Moultrie. We'd wade fish Russellville Flats for largemouth bass, and, I've just been a wade fisherman all my life. Just what I did. And then when I started coming to Venice back in the mid '90s, uh, Warren Rabb and his son Jim Rabb live in Baton Rouge, and they're very good friends of mine through work. And they invited me to come stay with them and go fishing with them. And their camp was then, that was pre-Katrina. They were down at Port Eads,
Oh, wow.
and
Yeah.
we were supposed to stay down there. And then all they basically fish for, they take dead shrimp on the popping cork and go catch predominantly redfish. And occasionally we'd catch a trout, or maybe if we had some live shrimp, they'd catch a trout. I was completely new to this kind of fishing. Uh, when I was a kid growing up, I fished the South Carolina coast originally as a young kid off the fishing pier down there. We were just fishing dead shrimp or whatever would bite. But we went down there, we were catching those fish on the popping cork. And I don't mean to be a sound whatever, but
Go ahead.
to me, there's no excitement in catching a 12-inch fish on a live shrimp under a popping cork. Or
Amen.
any
I'm
pool,
with you.
whatever sight. And I just I didn't care anything about trout fishing, and I didn't care about catching those trout. I didn't know what trout fishing was then. But then after Katrina, they moved their camp up to Venice, and I had some buddies from South Carolina that I grew up with, fishing buddies, and they bought a camp and after Katrina and put it in Venice, and they invited me to join them in their camp, and so I did. And I'm friends with, I guess, over probably 75% of the guides down there. I know them, they know me, and uh, all their fish with live shrimp. And I just never have gotten into that very much. I like artificial bait. And I'd been fishing one day and I came back to my camp, and this was on a Thursday and I had to go home on Friday. And some guys from Texas were renting the camp next to me, uh, Dean and Scott and Russell Glenwinkle, those guys, Dean Henderson, Scott Henderson. They come every year. They bring a crew. And I asked them, I said, y'all, I speak to everybody. I said, how'd y'all do today? We did pretty good. How'd you do? I said, well, I got, 4 or 5 redfish and maybe 3 or 4 trout. I said, and I had talked to a buddy of mine, a guide, retired now, Captain Larry Averett. And I talked to him, and he'd caught 7 trout and a limit of redfish. I said, what'd y'all do today? Well, there were 8 of them. They said, well, we caught probably 200 trout. I said, BS. I don't believe that. I said, I talked to a guide, he caught 7 today. And they were standing in their boat, I was standing on my deck, and they opened the 2 coolers that were brimming full with big trout.
Oh, I bet they
Nice.
were.
Said, get out of here. I said, I don't believe it. Russell Glenwinkle said, come go with us tomorrow, and I'll show you how to do it. I said, I've already put my boat up in the shed. He said, you don't need a boat. You can go ride with us. All we use the boat for is a taxi cab to get us out to the islands.
Wow.
I said, I've got to go home tomorrow. He said, listen, we'll be back with a limit by 12 o'clock. You can leave by 1 and you still be home tomorrow afternoon. I said, all right, let me get a rod and reel. He said, you don't need to get anything. I've got an extra reel, extra bait. Now, how can you turn that down?
You can. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. And he said this morning, he said, Harold, we didn't catch a fish until 9 o'clock. There were 8 of us at 9 o'clock. We had nothing. At
Wow.
noon, we had our 200 fish.
Wow.
Think about that. So for them to give me the opportunity to go with them,
Yeah.
and
You
they
can't pass that up.
so I
Yeah.
said, let's do it. And he said, we'll walk along side by side, and I'll show you what we do and how we do and all that. And so I went with them, and 2 more of us went that day. There were 10 of us, and that was back when the limit was 25. And actually, I didn't make it back until 2 o'clock, but we did have 250 trout. And it was
Golly.
freaking believable. And
Mhm.
then on, that's all I do. I mean, I say all I do,
Yeah.
I'll fish for trout when they're not around the islands. I can find them other places now. I've gotten in. I'm a what do you call it? A trout snob, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what you like.
I use people ask me what kind of line I use. I use 30-pound line on my braid, 30-pound braid on my casting reel with a 20-pound leader. It doesn't matter to me whether it's fluorocarbon or monofilament. I just use a lighter leader. And the reason I do it, so if I hook a bull red, I can thumb the spool and pop him off and go back to catching trout. All he does is
Yeah.
pop a Jack Crevalle or a real big bull red or a shark takes my line. I've had them spool me down to the spool and pop it, but they just take the leader. I wind it back in, retie another leader. And, I hear people talking about retying the leader and all this stuff. I don't know what kind of knots y'all use. You have a particular favorite knot that you tie?
No, I don't think either one of us are not
Well,
nerds.
For me, for leader to the braid, it's always a uni to uni, which I know.
And, I hear people get up on the, Louisiana Troutman Facebook page,
Uh-huh.
Venice, Louisiana fishing page. People will get on there and argue for hours.
Hours. That is one of the biggest, most controversial topics.
To me, I consider that you're majoring in the minor. That
Yeah.
doesn't make any difference. And I tell people all the time, I got 11,000 tackle boxes and more than that in baits. And, there's a bait for different match the hatch, color, all that kind of stuff. I tell people all the time, it's not that complicated. If you can remember two things, just two things, you can catch them. And I don't share this with just everybody, but
Here we go. Hot take.
not to tell anybody else. I'll tell you the only two things you have to do to load the boat every time you go. You ready?
We ready?
Ready.
Number one, go where they're at. And number two, be there when they're biting. Not too tired. It doesn't matter what color bait you throw in. If they're feeding and you there and you cast them, you can catch them. And
Yeah.
there'll be a lot
There's
of nuances to that, of course. But if somebody's not, I'm not. I got a buddy in South Carolina argues with me about he uses a Palomar knot to tie his
Mhm.
bait on, and I use an improved clinch knot to tie my bait on.
I think that's what I use is the improved clinch.
And
I'm a Palomar guy.
line to line, uh, a double unit is hard to beat.
Yeah.
I was so proud of myself when I learned to tie the FG knot because it's a pretty knot, long, skinny, slender knot. But I've had a whole lot more FG knots come unraveled on me, probably because I'm not doing something exactly right. But if I leave that tag in out too long, it hangs up in the guides of my rod when I'm winding it in, and I don't like that. But anyway,
Yeah.
again, that's majoring in the minor.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what kind of knot you use as long as you catch fish.
Yeah. Man, that's yeah, words of wisdom. And then in terms of like, I mean, I'm sure there'll be people that listen to this, and my brother is even one of them because I'm originally from Alabama, and he's listened to a couple episodes, and he's like, "Do you guys talk about? Is this show about speckled trout?" And it's if you don't live here, then it's hard to describe it to people because I think everyone assumes that we're all catching redfish on the front of like a flats boat, like throwing fishing flies at them. But like we're going after trout, which is people in Texas laugh at us. They're like, oh, 20 something inch trout. That's nice and everything. We're catching 30 inches here, but like I think there's a big conception that that's all we're doing is just pulling flats for redfish, which obviously I've done. I think Boyce has done it before. It's fun to do, but like I think trout is so nuanced and there's skill involved. They're not the easiest fish to catch, but obviously you've got them figured out. I mean, is that kind of the evolution that you see with guys that fish?
Yeah, the guys in Texas, obviously the Texas state record is bigger than ours, and they do catch more really big fish than we catch, but we catch a whole lot more. I'd be tickled to death with a box of 20-inch fish,
Yeah.
19, 7/8 inches or whatever you got to be right now. Too many times I've been out there and caught 10 fish and had to throw 8 of them back because they were all over 20 inches. And that's a darn shame when you got to throw all the big old fish back. But
Yeah.
especially
It's a good problem though.
yeah, it's a good part. And I like catching and releasing and all that. But
Yeah.
and I catch enough redfish by accident. I get my fill of redfish, but I generally don't cook them.
Yeah.
I don't like cleaning them. A trout's easy to clean and they taste good. And so,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So do they.
I
So
agree.
how would you compare it's in Venice specifically, how would you compare speckled trout fishing now to when you first started going down there? Is it better or worse?
let's see. Well, see, I don't know whether you know the Carter brothers, Brandon and John Carter.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
Brandon's been fishing down there forever. As a matter of fact, I helped them moderate their Facebook page.
Oh,
And
do you?
yeah, I fished with both of them. I fished Brent Royce, another well-known guy down there. And Brandon especially talks about how it was back in the good old days when he would go catch 25 fish and have all of them over 20 inches. Well, I haven't seen those days. To me, the biggest fish I've caught, biggest trout I've caught is, I think 7.4, 7.6. And
Jeez. How many inches?
uh, 26, maybe something like that.
Yeah,
He was,
that's
he was
awesome.
26, 27 inches. It was a big fish. And I that was back before I even started wade fishing. I caught him by accident. I was just in the
Yeah.
from South Carolina, and I was throwing a she dog topwater bait.
You
This is
imagine
by
catching
accident,
yeah,
guys. This
this
is
is
by
great.
accident. He's throwing a she-dog, catches a 7-pounder.
Yeah, and I'm embarrassed to say I'd never seen a trout that big because again, buddies that start to get fish time, they would tickle to death with 12 and 14-inch trout. I saw that big old thing. I wasn't sure what it was.
Yeah.
Oh, my
Yeah.
lord.
And
I say I always tell people the most famous quote before you catch your PB trout is, "It's a red," and then once you get it up or you get some head shakes in, you're like then the panic sets in of like, "Oh my god, I need a net," because like I think a lot of guys that catch, they catch redfish and they're like, "Yeah, here we go." Because one, they've got so many of them, and two, they're hoping for a big trout, but like they know redfish will run off these smaller trout, or they'll run off the trout basically.
well, uh,
So
I mentioned another name to you earlier, Rudy Hall. I don't know whether you know Rudy Hall or not.
I don't
please
Rudy,
think
find out.
so.
I met him wade fishing, and he is as good as anyone I've ever met, better by far than 90%. He's a he's a retired engineer. His engineering company built about 200 of those oil rigs out there. He knows where the shale beds are around the oil rig,
Wow.
what the structure is like underwater. He takes meticulous notes for every trip he goes on. He can go back 10, 15 years and tell you how many fish he caught in January, February, March, what the size was, what the tide was doing, what the water temperature was, what the air temperature was, what the wind was doing. He's just meticulous about it, like an engineer, like a good engineer
Yeah,
would. And
He
yeah.
sounds like a guy that we need to talk to.
he really
It
is
sounds like my cousin, a lot.
really, really, really good. Have you ever heard of the Swole Fest tournament?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
He invited me to fish the Swole Fest tournament with them a couple of years ago, and I was flattered that he asked me to fish it with him. He and his grandson were fishing it, and I think his son had to work and couldn't go with him, so he invited me. And I had never fished the Swole Fest tournament before, but the the game plan that we had that day was just insane. That tournament was insane. At the end of the tournament, in the Swole Fest, they recognize it's a charity tournament for disabled kids, and so there's not big cash rewards, but they do give prizes to the first three places offshore, like snapper and tuna and grouper, and inshore for flounder and trout and redfish and whatever. All the different species they acknowledge three places, and they do it with the biggest stringer for trout, a 5-fish stringer. You can weigh your 5 biggest fish, and it's a 3-day tournament, so you can technically weigh 3 stringers. And so when we were staying at his son's camp over in Shell Beach. And when we went over to Grand Isle to weigh in the last day, we took first, second, and third place
Wow.
with the biggest trout, and we took first and third place in the biggest 5-fish stringer.
Jeez, that's awesome.
It was
That's
pretty,
amazing.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
you've just been hammering them your whole life, it sounds like.
I get lucky every
Yeah. So, in terms of Venice, we always talk about this with people, and I'll kinda give you my own personal, anecdote is for the longest time I'd always heard, if you go to Venice, you need a guide. You have to have a guide. And I've been fishing most of my life, and I did my research on the risk. Obviously, it's kind of a changing delta, so you got to know where you're going so you don't end up in trouble. But the first time I went there, I got a double limit of trout and snapper. It's like this is obviously a place you can get in a lot of trouble, but then I think if you calculate the risk, and you do your homework, it's something that you can tackle on your own. It's just like any other fishery. What's your opinion on that?
well, I've never hired a guide to take me trout fishing. And I've fished with a lot of the guides back during COVID when a lot of them had their clients it was shut down. They had a police tape around the marina. Nobody was fishing down there. You couldn't go to the marina.
Wow.
I fished with several of them back during that time. Just didn't call me and say, "You want to go fun fishing?" My clients canceled. Sure, I fished with Brandon Carter for fun. Uh, Several of them. Brent
I
Roy.
thought that was awesome.
I've been
Yeah.
way with Brent Roy and all that. Uh, Now, what was your question about guides? Oh, do you need a
Yeah.
guide? Do you need a guide to go fishing? You need a guide so you don't tear your boat up.
Yeah.
I have fished down there with other people for a long time before I ever I sold my bass boat. Those daggone fish at Venice made me sell my bass boat and get a bay boat. I tell Jim Rabb, my buddy that invited me to his camp back in the 90s, I said, "You have cost me a fortune."
Oh, that's so, huh? Now you got a camp down there and everything.
Not buying into a camp and all that. But if you don't have a guide, get you a good map and a good GPS and get Rob Buck on speed dial. He owns the
There you go.
he had to pull me in twice in 3 days, so, I get it. You
Yeah,
know,
I was gonna
Yeah.
ask how many times have you been stuck down there?
a lot.
A
But,
lot.
and Rob, he's friends with all the guides down there. He knows all the guides, and he'll tell I said, "Rob, name me a guide that you haven't had to pull in." He said, "Oh, none that I know of."
Yeah.
They If you fish Venice, you're gonna run aground, you're gonna get stuck, you're gonna probably hit things to tear up your motor. Brandon Carter, one of the longest standing, smartest, well-known guides down there, knows the place like the back of his hand. A couple years ago, he knocked the foot off his motor following a track that he'd been on a bunch of times.
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a guide. And, when I became a trout snob back in the day, I just really, 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 I don't have anything against fishing with live bait. Nothing.
Yeah.
I put it, but you don't have to have it.
No.
And you don't have to have a guide to catch them. I guess if I had a goal in mind down there, it was to show those guys they're not the only people who can catch those fish.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, and we asked this question not as a slight to guides because I think Venice has some of the best guides in the world.
Oh,
You
then
know, not just
Without
you
question.
know, that's not why we asked the question, but I think it is intimidating for people.
but
They, you know,
here I am living in Tennessee. If somebody from South Carolina who's living in Tennessee can go down there and catch them, anybody can catch them. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. And if you get on Google Earth, do your homework, like you
I
said.
get on Google Earth. Brandon Carter, he was on a Tuna Town Talks podcast, and he was talking about how many nights he stays up at night on Google Earth, zooming in, looking for places.
Absolutely.
And I
Absolutely.
found it too. And he said every morning when I go to pick up my clients, there's nobody out there that wants to catch them any worse than I do. And I saw him a couple of days later down at the marina. I said, "Brandon, you told a lie in your podcast the other day. You said nobody wants to catch them any worse than you do." "Yes, it is." I said, "You don't want it any worse than I do."
Yeah. Well, speaking of, let's just roll straight into the Google Earth portion. You wanna show us some spots around Venice?
Pull it up. I'll point it out.
All right, let me pull up the screen real quick.
You gotta
Let's
do.
do it.
All you gotta do is go where they're at.
Go-
Yeah.
Be there when they're
I'm
biting.
gonna I'm gonna look for where they're at right now.
About the secret spot.
All
So,
right.
when I first started fishing Venice, or still currently fishing Venice, I fish it out of a 17-foot aluminum bass boat.
When you first started fishing a bass boat.
Yeah, so currently still do out of a 17-foot aluminum bass boat. So I really have to rely on my Google Earth homework. But I haven't had any problems. Of course, I've ran aground a couple of times, but being that I have a light aluminum boat, I've been able to get unstuck. But of course, I have sea tow. But only thing that really, like your problem, you said you had to upgrade your boat to get out to those big fish. That's my problem right now.
Well, people ask me, especially people back here in Tennessee, inland people, they say, "Can you go out on the ocean in your boat?" I said, "Absolutely." I said, "But you're asking the wrong question. You can go out on the ocean in any boat. The question is, can you get back?"
Exactly.
It's never getting
Exactly.
there, it's always getting
It's
there.
always getting back.
When,
So,
when anybody can steer the ship when the sea is calm, when it
yeah.
gets 40, that's when.
That's when the real experience comes out, and a place like Venice is not somewhere to take those chances.
Yeah, it's
Look at you, pulled up. I can't believe you pulled up.
I mean, look, Harold, we put you on the map, you're already on the map, but then, I mean, if
You don't have to give away any spots
yeah, you don't have to
if you
give
don't
away
feel
any honey
comfortable.
holes.
You don't, yeah, but he
People
just wanted you to
Uh, I'm sure you've heard of fishing the jump.
There you
Yes,
go.
sir.
Look, we love the jump. Let's break down the jump.
Yeah, let's break down the jump.
Okay. I was going to the jump and you went back, you took me back the other way. Who's doing that?
That's Nathan.
I am driving around because if
He's not a good driver.
I'm not the best driver, I'm not
If
gonna lie. I'm
Let's
trying to
go up a
speed.
little bit right here. All right. That's the jump from there back on the.
towards the river.
Do you know how to name the jump?
I don't
Uh,
know why it's named the jump.
I do, but I'm gonna let you describe it.
Well, being from Tennessee, I'll tell you how you get the jump by its name. The road used to end right there, and all the people that worked on the oil rigs, they would come right there, park their truck, and jump on the boat. They would take them out to the oil rigs. So that's the
Interesting.
road called the jump, where they jumped off and got on the boat.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah, I used to think
You know?
a lot of fish jumped in this body in this little area.
Look, hey, look, I mean, yeah, obviously, it's a well-known community honey hole, but I mean, in the wintertime, that's a fun place to fish if you want to put a lot of fish in the box.
What do
Yeah.
you with?
So in the jump, I'm typically throwing a 1-ounce drop shot with a little 3/0 octopus hook with a sparkle beetle, chartreuse sparkle beetle,
Okay, good deal.
and I just drop it down there. I mean, it's the easiest
I
way
thought
you can
I was
catch them, in my opinion.
the only one throwing a drop shot there.
Wait, what's that?
I thought I was the only one throwing a
You
drop.
throwing a drop shot in the jump? Look at you.
Hey, I had left bass fishing before drop shots became a thing, and I didn't even know how to tie a drop shot on, but I knew I was losing too many baits on the bottom there, and so I figured if I could get the lead to the bottom and keep my bait off
Yep.
the bottom,
Yes.
I'd be in business. So I just tied a double uni and left the tag in about 6 to 8 inches off the top, left the tag in up there. Then I tied my lead about depending on how the current was running, anywhere from a ounce to ounce and a half to 2 ounce lead on there. And I tie on the little voodoo baby shrimp,
Yes.
and it is Dr. Death.
So, and do you pick that shrimp because the hook eyelet is flat rather than vertical? Is that a reason?
Well, I use it because I fish a lot of vo- egret baits, voodoo baits. When they had the voodoo vixen, what I like about the voodoo vixen so much, it's a little, 3-inch bait. The lead head jig is already inside, it's molded into the plastic. So it's really, really aerodynamic, and you can throw it a country mile. And uh, with most plastics, when you're fishing plastics with on a jig head, and the fish gets a redfish or trout, and it gets it down in his throat, and you got to get pliers to get it out. If you aren't careful to make sure you grab the hook, if you grab the plastic, you'll tear it up. But
Mhm.
those baits, the plastic they use is the same plastic they make bottle caps out of. You can't. Seriously, that's what it is. I just reach in my needle nose pliers and grab the bait and jerk it out. You can't tear it.
Yeah.
And I've told a lot of people this. Oh, it was probably 4 years ago now. I was out at one of the islands catching trout. Bad problem with ladyfish later in the summer. Those ladyfish get really bad out there. But I was catching and releasing because I had my limit. But I had caught 55 trout and 12 ladyfish on the same bait, and it still looked brand new.
Wow. That's a testament to them, huh?
No question about it. And that little baby shrimp is like a 2-inch shrimp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you like the smaller profile baits on the drop shot? That's more finesse fishing?
I think so because the smaller bait has a smaller molded lead head in it. And I think that 3-inch one is like a 16th of an ounce. And so it's gonna because the lead's on the bottom and the bait's just flopping in the current there. And so I figure that little light 2-inch long baby shrimp flops
Well,
action to it.
oh, I bet it's dancing in the jump with that current.
It's just dancing in the jump. So anyway, that right there, and back to the secret spots. I could point out a lot of spots there for you. And the heck of it is, they are not secret spots.
Yeah.
You gotta know how to catch them.
Everybody knows about the spots. The secret is knowing when the trout are going to be there.
That's
Yeah.
that's the key.
And
So that's a good. I'm glad you brought that up. So what would you say when the trout are gonna be there? I think one of the things you look for is the river level, right?
river level. When the river goes down in the fall of the year, the river gets down below 4 feet, 3 feet in that range. The salt water comes up the river, and the bait come into the river, and the trout follow, and other follow trout and redfish or whatever. They follow the bait into the river, and then. I've never known the river to be down as low as it is right now, this late in this time of the year.
That was gonna be my next question.
Well, see, when it gets cold, that cold water coming down the river will push those fish out of there, and cold fresh water will really push them out.
Okay, so that makes sense why they're not still in the river at this time of year, even though it's still low, right?
Yep, they're beginning to move back out, and as more and more fresh water comes down, the river starts coming up. It'll push them back out in Breton Sound and out at the mouths of these passes and whatever. But I people say, "Well, where are you waiting?" Well, I'll tell people where I'm waiting. Now, you can't be waiting, but so many places in Venice.
Yeah, I think I might know a spot that you're waiting.
Yeah.
So Breton Island is great.
Yeah.
Breton Island is great. As a matter of fact, uh, this area right here used to be a lot of the guides, the Carter boys, call that the best spawning area in Breton Sound.
Interesting. Is it because of that cove?
Well, it used to be, but because that cove used to be 6 feet deep back in the back there, and then right around the edge it got real shallow, but in the middle was 4 to 6 feet deep. But when the island washed away, and then they renourished the island, they built it back up. All that sand that they pumped onto the island came across this side, and for the most part, all practical purposes, filled in this area right here. And now it's like maybe 3 feet, 2 or 3 feet. You actually run aground in there where it used to be 6
Yeah.
feet.
That's one of the spots I've ran aground recently last July. And
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 yeah, that's the little old wellhead right there. Right there. There's a piece of PVC pipe on the side right here where the guys used to come in with their float planes, and they tie to that PVC pipe, and they put their guide parties out, and they would wade this, or either they would tax over to this side over on the other side over here. And can you see my mouse?
No, sir.
Well, I was pointing.
Is it
it
on
feels
the
like that sometimes.
is it on the east side of the island or the west side of the island?
It's on. Put your cursor over there. Put your cursor back in the middle of that. Okay, keep going that way.
Yeah.
Across that sandbar that comes out there, it's
Yes.
growing like crazy. It comes way, way out there now.
I think
Yeah.
that's where we ran aground, actually.
A lot of times the airplanes would tax over to that side and let the people out, and they would wade all where your cursor is there, all the way out to as deep as they can wade. A lot of traffic come off of that edge. And that
So
go back. Go ahead.
when you're waiting, that's something you're looking for. I'm assuming you're like one of the main targets would be the ledge.
Well, I like points and I like current. And like on the other end of the island, go back down on the southwest side, way back down, way back down. Okay, that whole point there goes way, way, way out there now. And
Ooh, look at those little lumps right there.
don't be
Ooh.
pointing that too close now.
Look at
All
that.
right, we'll keep it over here. We'll keep it.
I have found after hundreds, if not thousands, of hours fishing out there, I've done much better on what I call the bay side, on on as opposed to the surf side.
Mhm,
The bay side, I think, is best on the outgoing tide, and the surf side is better on the incoming tide.
mhm.
And the reason it's better on an outgoing tide is because if you zoom out a little bit,
Okay.
zoom out just a little bit, when the tide's going out, it comes down the island, and then it goes right around that blue dot you just put there and runs across that point.
Yeah, you can kinda see how it would run there.
Yep.
Nice.
And those fish will stack up on that side, feeding, and the fish always feed into the current. If you're fishing live bait, it doesn't much make any difference. But if you're fishing plastic, uh, you want to throw your bait up current and bring it back to you with the current. And and
So yeah,
on
throw them this way and then come back. Is that all? Is that all sand? Is there any grass around here?
all hard sand.
So
Hard sand. So
this,
I bet you learn a lot more about just the water and conditions in general from actually physically being in it and with the fish.
Oh, I love it. I'm in their element, and you can tell the slightest troughs. You can find them with your feet wading a whole lot more easily than you can find them in a boat. And
yeah,
you know, I think stealth is important. A
Mhm.
buddy did it with me years ago, bass fishing over in South Carolina. We were fishing for spawning fish. The water was really clear, and we could see them. He said, "Harold, scream as loud as you can." I'd scream, fish would not move. They were right where they were. He said, "Now take your rod and tap the side of the boat." I tapped the side of the boat, and they just took off.
Wow.
Wow.
Scared.
Yeah.
They can
S
hear noise in the boat. Every time somebody slams a lid in my boat, I don't care if it's on a Friday or a Saturday, they slam a lid, I tell them next Thursday. They say, "What are you talking about?" Right next Thursday now if you slam that lid like that.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I
Uh,
I believe it, especially in clear water. It seems like there's nothing distorting the sound. There's not a lot of sediment in there, and I'm not sure what the
You
reverberation.
never have to make a bad cast when you're waiting. The boat's never out of position. Nobody else is throwing in front of you or across you, or you and you can and you can be patient when you're waiting. When you park your boat and get out the boat and you've waited a mile away from the boat, well, you've made a commitment to fish that.
yes, you
Yeah.
have.
And all my guide buddies tell me the same thing. They say, "Harold, we can't do what you do." You know, the tide's gonna change, when the tide picks up, the fish are gonna bite and all that, and you will sit there and wait them out. We go in there with a guide party, and if we hadn't caught a fish in 15 minutes, they wanna leave and go someplace else
Oh,
because they're
no.
not here, right? They're not biting here. We need to go somewhere else, guide. How about over yonder? Let's go move somewhere. So we gotta go through the motions of running them around, letting them throw it a lot of different places because they don't have the patience to sit there and wait on them.
Yeah.
And, where you looking at the bottom of that island and zoom out a little bit? Okay, now on the surf side, over right there, go right there. See that trough?
Yep.
Yes.
On the end of
Yes.
that sandbar, there's a darker green trough. Go where your arrow's pointing, up a little bit.
Yeah.
Right in there. See that trough?
Yep.
Beautiful.
All islands have a trough like that that runs on the surf side, and we wade those troughs all the time. And I've done better there on an incoming tide, much better on an incoming tide. If the tide's slack or going out, you might as well go back to the boat and eat a sandwich or something.
So what's the closest you've ever seen a trout swimming next to you that you haven't caught?
Uh, well, when I was fishing another one of the islands, it was like, and we talked earlier about my line experiment. And I wanted to see if you could see fluorocarbon underwater. And I was in waist deep water, and I put my little voodoo vixen bait on, and I dropped it on the bottom beside my shoe. And I posted the pictures of it. And because I was waist deep, they said my phone was waterproof, but I didn't really want to test it. So I just held the phone like this and stuck the camera lens right at my belt, pointing down. And I took a picture, and you could see that bait beautifully in waist deep water on the bottom. And I had on my Keen water shoes with a black toe, closed toe, and you could see that fluorocarbon, 20-pound fluorocarbon going across the toe of my shoe. And I had so many. I posted those pictures on. Uh, it might have been Louisiana Troutman and or Venice, Louisiana fishing, and I had people come out of the woodwork blasting me. That's not Venice. I've fished Venice all my life. I've never seen
Yes.
water that clear. Well, it was too, because that's the only place I fished down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was it was not Breton Island. The farther north and northeast you go out towards the Chandelier Islands, the clearer the water gets,
Yeah.
especially in the fall of the year. And we had been waiting out there, maybe on that island you have the cursor on right now. But that was one of those mornings where we wading. There were 4 or 5 guide boats. Brandon Carter was there. John Carter was there, and the fish just weren't biting. And they left. They had to leave. They had to go find fish. Well, I wasn't going to leave because I had caught fish there, and I was waiting for the tide to change. And so we went back to the boat to get a sandwich. And I had 2 buddies from South Carolina, 3 of them actually, all really good fishermen. And we went back to the boat to get a sandwich, and we just killing time. We were arguing about who could cast the farthest. And so after we got our sandwich, we just stood up on the back of the deck of the boat and cast out. Well, I'd cast and he'd cast. Then we'd argue about whose bait went farther. And I said, well, let's get in the water side by side, because we had the other buddy trying to tell us which one went farther. I said, we'll stand side by side, shoulder to shoulder, and throw. And we were doing that, and we threw out there, and we were sitting there arguing with him and turned to him, who's went farther? Answer the question. Settle it right now. And why would both of our lines went down? Both each had a trout. They picked it up off
Awesome.
and Buddy, who was watching us and measured for us, he turned and grabbed his rod. We limited out right there, standing beside the boat. The tide change started to move, and everybody left but us. But we caught our limited fish right there.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
that's awesome.
I can tell people the islands I go to. First you've got Breton Island. This great, both sides, the north end and the south end are great at different times. Then you go to Gosher, and Gosher is great, big fish, high salinity. First thing I do is get in the water. I taste it to see how what the salinity is, and I just feel better if it tastes salty. If it doesn't taste salty, but there's still the salt water on the bottom. But it's just I have more confidence if I can taste it. And the farther northeast in that chain of islands you go, the saltier the water becomes.
Mhm.
Well, next time you drive in, I need you to stop by Lake Pontchartrain and tell me the salinity of that water because I feel like it's saltier this year than it has been in years past.
And
Wow.
speaking of Lake Pontchartrain, people tell me all the time about sharks. Old Bill Butler, one of the owners down there at Venice Marina, every time he sees me, you still got both your legs there?
I was gonna well, I was gonna ask
Yeah.
about that. I know you probably get that a lot.
I do get that a lot. And be fair, I've had fish take trout. I've had sharks take trout off my line. I've had sharks take them off my stringer. I've had sharks nearly jerk me down taking fish off my stringer. But, a lot of people just stick their stringer into their belt. So if a shark grabbed it, it pulls it out. I got
Yeah.
mine tied in a knot, and I got a steel centered stringer because if I got the trout on there, he's strong enough to fight me to get him.
You going home with them fish.
I've broken a rod tip trying to beat sharks off my line before, off my stringer.
I love
It
it.
sounds like you've been successful.
But sharks back to Lake Pontchartrain, they told me so much about it. I went back and researched shark attacks on the Louisiana coast. They started keeping records in 1900. And so in 120 years, whenever I looked it up, 120 years, there have been 7 reported shark attacks on the Louisiana coast and only 1 fatality. And the fatality was in Lake Pontchartrain.
Wow.
I think you're good then.
It was a 16-year-old kid on a paddleboard. 2 of the people that got bitten were scuba divers. They were spearfishing and had fish tied to their belt underwater. That's just asking for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One wade fisherman was bitten in the foot. So
Yeah.
I'll take my chances with that.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't really ever hear anything about it either. So, I mean, I guess it's safe. That's one of my fears, though. I've never done it because of that.
Well,
Yeah.
guys probably, but Brent Roy has asked me to go wade fishing with him when he had a client that wanted to go wade fishing. So he asked me to come go with him. And I did. But for the most part, I think the guys have a liability issue there. If they put people out in the water and somebody does get bitten by a shark,
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
like that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh,
I used to surf a lot. My mom's she used to be an ER nurse and she would give me tourniquets and she's like, it's just a matter of time. And they're out there. They're 100% out there. But it seems like, and this is perception, I don't know, I don't have the data. It seems like the shark population has exploded. Do you think you've
No
seen
question
more
about
shark?
it. There's no
Yeah.
question about it. There are more sharks down there now. You know, I was standing in the water. It's one thing to know they're there. In your mind, you know they're there because you're in their habitat. But it's something else when that water is clear and you can see how many are there.
Oh, that would
See.
not be a good
I lost
feeling.
count of them. I couldn't count them. And I was standing
Yeah.
not far off the shore and I saw this shark swimming down the beach. And I said, I wonder if I stand still with a tree, how close he will come to me. So I just stood there and didn't move. And I just watched him come. And when he got within 6 feet of me. I'd let my rod touch the water right over his head. You'd have thought a stick of dynamite went off. He was gone in an instant.
Man.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
I think they're more afraid of us than we are them. And
I guess he was just coming to see what you were, and he did something you didn't expect.
I don't even think he noticed I was there because he was riding along looking for fish. And everything he's looking for is shiny and it's parallel to the bottom. Well, my legs are sitting there like 2 tree trunks or dock posts. That doesn't look like anything he's going to eat.
Must have had
Yeah.
fluorocarbon in front of him, right?
If you want to go back to the map over here,
Yeah.
go back down to
Absolutely.
the end of South Pass. Oh,
There we go. We've
oh,
done we've done very well down here.
okay, right there. You can take your cursor and draw a circle around that whole end. Right there where your cursor is. That used to be the entrance to Coast Guard Cut. Right there. Those rock jetties mark the mouth of Coast Guard Cut. Well, it's silted in right now, and if you come on back down to the lower left-hand corner, as I look down the beach, zoom out a little bit, all down that beach, just come on down, come on down, come on down, come on, come on, come on.
Right where we caught him,
Right,
Nathan.
so you can start right there because the maps need to be upgraded, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can take your marker and circle that whole sandbar that goes out there. That's some of the best trout fishing down there, and the beauty of it is when I can't get out to the islands, that's protected in a north wind or a southeast wind. You can get out of the wind right there, and they're fishing there all the time because salt water gets trapped in there, and, again, when I tell somebody I'm gonna catch them at the islands of waiting, I'm going to catch them at Breton. That's a long way from that to somebody else going out there and catch them at Breton.
Yeah. It's quite
Yeah.
the difference in area.
There's no substitute for time on the water, and,
Yes.
Absolutely.
Are you wade fishing this area as well, or are you still in a boat?
absolutely.
I was gonna say it seems like a very good area, especially behind that sandbar. But
Yep,
it kinda sets up like Breton Island for you, I guess, because you have the surf side and the bay side.
yep. It's tough to fish the surf side there because with any wind, you can't wade out very deep on that surf side. The waves will knock you down.
Yeah.
You can catch all the fish you want on the inside of that sandbar at the right time.
Mhm.
Look at how much this place has changed in the last 10 years. So this is
You all the way down, if you
2016.
think you go from where that blue dot is, all the way around the end of that whole sandbar there.
Yeah.
Inside is great, all the way around. The point is really good when they're there, and if you go back in a little bit, back to where you started, where the mouth of, where Coast Guard Cut used to be, where that little jetty wall is. Zoom in right there, right there. Alright, now you see the jetties on the east side of South Pass there?
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
Now put a matching jetty wall on this west side all the way down, and more trout have been caught off those jetties down there than you could carry in your boat. But you got to know how to fish it and be there when they're there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
That,
a difficult bite, I feel like.
it's not a secret spot.
Yeah, every time we fished it, we would get there, first thing in the morning, and it was basically we would start throwing, we would throw a half-ounce jig head tied up on the rocks, and we would get broken off by a Spanish mackerel right away, or we would catch a monstrous ladyfish, and
Yeah.
that's been my experience there.
Yep. Well, there's monster trout there also.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's
So that's I've heard. So I mean, that's not deterring me. I'm going back.
so I'm always looking for tarpon around this area, and I've hooked a couple on this west jetty, throwing a coon pop, and yeah, it's gonna happen one of these days. Typically, what we'll do is we'll swing by this jetty on the other side, and as the Freeman Parade is going by, we are catching we're catching our Spanish mackerel, because I find Spanish is like one of the best snapper baits because it's just, I mean, snapper will eat anything. Yeah, but they stay on forever. I mean, they don't disintegrate like pogies or some of the other ones. Seems like they're very hardy baits because that skin is like leather almost.
But
So
that point right there on that side where your cursor is at the end of that jetty wall on the east side right there,
yeah,
that is a big fish haven right there. I mean, really, really, really big fish.
yeah. And
Uh,
then in terms of like what time of year you like to fish it, is there a particular time of year you like to fish that for big trout? Because
spring, summer, they're there. When they're in there, they're there. But the problem, only problems about that area is it's the same with Southwest Pass. You can go to a Southwest Pass, and I'll show you how to draw a circle there also. But the problem is when you go down there, it's 26 miles to Southwest Pass, and you
yeah,
pretty much made a commitment to fish there
It is a commitment.
because you can't
oh
change
yeah,
your mind and say, "Well, I'm gonna run out to Breton Island now."
No, you cannot do that.
yeah.
And right
It's
there,
a
just circle all around both of those points down there where the jetty walls end. Just follow those jetties out and circle both of those jetty walls on both sides, and big fish territory. Uh,
There's a lot of sharks out here too, and when
a lot of sharks. So, I've caught more sharks there and you get broken off with all these toothy fish, bluefish, ladyfish, uh, and I don't retie often enough. You got to if you're catching those kind of fish, you got to retie pretty often because they'll fray
Mhm.
your line. Then you get that big trout on, he's gonna break it for you.
Ah, yep. We had it happen to us not too long ago.
But again, that's not a secret spot. Everybody knows to fish the jig,
Yeah.
but
Well, those are just, they're tough to get to. I mean, not tough to get to, but you gotta, yeah, like you said, you're committing to go down there, and you gotta have the means to get down there.
yeah, you gotta have
But
to get out there. And if you get down there and the water's super muddy and all that, wind's blowing wrong, you got to have a really good wind or no wind to fish down there. But
mhm.
if you go down there and you put in your time on the water, you catch fish down there.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that we put in plenty of time. I've struck out down there plenty and had a lot of success down there. And would you believe I've taken my 17-foot bass boat down there?
Well, choose your weather. Choose.
My weather was good. I had a good weather day that day.
Yeah.
And
And I had a partner with me in a separate boat, so I was being a little bit more
what's,
cautious, you know.
what's your preferred plastic bait?
So I throw matrix shad. I like a ultraviolet or a green hornet.
I ordered 1,200 green hornet last year.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. 1,200. I am a big Green Hornet fan too, and it's like it just works. I
You know,
mean, that's
I've got other baits. I'm in with the owner of Mirror Lure, and they have good looking plastics and they have good looking twitch baits, and I fish their baits quite a bit. I'm big on egret baits also. Uh, I told you about Rudy Hall, the engineer that built the rigs and the best
Mhm.
trout fisherman that I know, especially with artificial bait. Uh, all he fishes is the Matrix Green Hornet.
The green
yeah.
hornet, tried and true, and it's good all year.
I said, "Won't you try another bait?" He said, "Harold, if somebody outfishes me, I will." So last year,
Yes.
I ordered 1,200 Green Hornets.
There
I
you go.
yeah, I think
I
you
say
know,
that, I don't use that many, but when I have friends come from South Carolina, Tennessee, they aren't saltwater fishermen, and they just come to go fishing, and they count on using my equipment, my baits, my rods and reels, and that's good. I'm good with that, but
yeah.
that's why I have to get a lot of stuff.
So when you're waiting, what are you typically fishing? Like, you're just throwing the green hornet on a jig, or you top water, crankbait,
I love a twitch bait. I
twitch bait? Yeah.
love a twitch bait. I love top water, but a suspending twitch bait is
Mhm.
really hard to beat, and I love that. But it's hard to fish that when somebody else is fishing, say a green hornet on a 3/8 ounce jig. They can cover so much water so much faster than you can when they're just casting in line and casting in line, and you got to cast and let it sit there and twitch it every night.
Mhm.
I love that stripe, but I don't like seeing somebody beside me catch it up.
Oh no.
That is my
Yeah.
problem at why I can't fish a twitch bait. I don't have enough patience for it.
Yeah.
When I'm
It's
fishing by myself, I fish it a lot because I'm not worried about somebody else catching more than I am, or
yeah.
more than I
Would you
might.
say would you say you're a little competitive?
I think he is.
Unbelievable, unbelievable.
I
But
think it makes it fun, right? Like I fish yeah, it's always good fun. It's good to
who
just
can catch the first one? Who can catch the biggest one? Who can catch the most? Who can catch the most catfish? Whatever.
I feel like I'm talking to
You're
us
talking
and
to
yeah,
Ty's dad.
I'm good.
yeah,
Uh, you
yeah,
know,
that's
the voodoo vixen that I used to fish, and unfortunately they don't make it anymore. They changed the style a little bit, but it only came in a quarter ounce. And if I'm fishing 6 feet of water or less, it's hard not to fish that voodoo vixen because you can throw it so far. Uh, it reminds me that it's a harder plastic, but the tail has a real tight wobble. When you raise your rod, you can feel it thumping. It reminds me of slow rolling a spinnerbait for largemouth bass. Just raise across the bottom, you feel that single blade, that Colorado blade flopping, and
yeah,
that and in water 6 feet deep or less, a quarter ounce is all you need.
Yeah.
When we get away from the water that shallow and get to where we might be fishing water 10, 12, 18 feet deep, then I need to go to a 3/8 or a half ounce if there's current running. And I can do that with a Matrix Green Hornet. I can change the jig head sizes.
Mhm.
And and I like the death grip jig heads.
Yes.
They're they're, the bait won't slide down a death grip.
Oh, yeah, it's called death grip for a reason, right?
Get the rest of it off that, shank of that, shaft of that
Yeah.
jig head. I love
It's that's a I feel like that's such a Louisiana thing too, because like a lot of states, you're getting 6 fish per person,
yeah.
most jig heads will kinda hold up, but when you're fishing for, people in Louisiana will catch their limit, and then they're like, "How many limits can I catch?" Just catch and release, but, um, I have a theory, and I wanna get your opinion on this. I feel like when the bait's chewed up, they actually perform a little bit better, and I don't know what it is, but it seems like, the ones that when I'll put a new bait on there, it's not the hot and heavy action that I was getting with the one that's all chewed up and frayed, and I've
It
kind of
I get
docked it back together.
it's obviously a little bit more flexible and floppy when it's all chewed up,
Yeah. I mean,
and I try to get as much mileage as I can out of one. I've even taken super glue in my boat and tried to glue a plastic back together. Here I am in a $50,000 boat trying to save a 7-cent super glue.
God,
jumping over dollars to save some pennies.
Exactly
Yeah,
right.
tell us about your rig. What kinda boat do you have?
I've got a 24-foot Triton Bay boat
nice.
with a 250 Mercury on it, and I've got, down there, I got a radar arch on it for radar because if you fish down there in the wintertime, you're gonna need radar, and,
Oh
'cause
my god.
you go out at night, radar's a big help. If you go out in the fog, you're crazy, but radar's a must.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
many people down there have, too many experienced captains that I know well have crashed into other boats in the fog out there.
No.
Getting killed out there in the fog.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, there was a crab fisherman down there running a workboat. They both of them licensed captains, both of them umpteen years experience. And the crabber saw the crew boat, and he was trying to get out of his way. The crew boat evidently didn't see him, just ran right over the middle of his boat and killed
Golly, that's my biggest fear is dying on the water at sea, but yet I love to fish and what you gonna do?
Speaking of that, you know, I've been out there in some severe weather. Did you get caught out at the islands? I've been caught out in thunderstorms. I was scared to stay and scared to go. I didn't know what to do. I've gotten out of my boat and taken a cushion in my raincoat and gone, and I just would lie down on the island on my put my head on the cushion and put the raincoat over my head. And I've been out there. I've gone. The next rig has got to be a little bit better snapper fishing. This is some big snapper here, but we go to that next rig, we can catch more bigger ones. Storm catches you out there. And I told my friends back home, if I happen to turn up missing at sea and I drown, please don't say he died what he loved doing. I don't love drowning. I love fishing.
I'm with you. I'm with you
Yeah.
on
I did not die doing what I love.
Yeah.
that.
Harold Wilcox died what he loved doing, getting eaten by a thrasher shark right off the Southwest Pass. I don't think that's like what anyone expects for their life. Yeah. So what
Uh,
about your kid? Do your kids worry about you when you're out there fishing?
Not at all. As a matter of
Yeah.
fact, this shirt that I have on is a blue one 'cause I got blue eyes. But a lot of my shirts are orange because I know a lot of people have turned up missing. And when you got on a blue shirt or a white shirt, if the Coast Guard helicopter is looking at you,
Then I can find it.
shirt or a white shirt or a green shirt, but they can see a blaze orange shirt and they can see my orange hat that I normally wear. And I always have my cell phone in my pocket. That's why I wear these shirts with zip. I won't buy a shirt to fish in that doesn't have a zippered pocket anymore because I keep my phone with me all the time. Not only to take pictures of these big old fish I catch, but people can follow me anywhere I go. All three of my kids follow me. 2 years ago, I drove my Suburban to Alaska and I tent camped along the way. Well, my kids followed me everywhere I went. You call them anytime, where's your dad? They can tell you where I am. And if you recall those two attorneys in Florida that went missing out of that Freeman earlier,
Mhm.
Yeah.
if both of them had had their cell phone in their pocket, you would know right where they are. And
Yeah.
it's a very cheap answer to a EPIRB, but I have mine with me all the time. And as a matter of fact, mine fell out of a pocket of mine that wasn't shut properly in the jump. And it was I started to go after it, but it was
D
it was probably 40 degrees, so I used good judgment, and I didn't go in
Y
after
so,
it.
other than I mean, obviously your cell phone, what other kind of communication do you have? I'm sure you have a VHF radio on board, right?
I've got a VHF radio, and, I've had this for years, this spot locator,
Mhm.
these little gadgets right here, you can worldwide.
So, what is that thing?
It's a personal locator,
Okay, gotcha. So it's kinda like an EPIRB?
kinda
Or
like EPIRB, but
gotcha.
it works anywhere, and there's, 3 buttons on there you can mash. You turn it on, then you can just check in with everybody. Hit the button, said, "Everything is okay. I'm just checking in, letting you know where I am." And
Gotcha, okay. So,
going
I have something similar to that. I'm just always looking for other kinda things, so I knew you'd probably have something good.
a
So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's perfect.
VHF radio is handy because 'cause I'm never out of range of a Coast Guard station. I've been out of range of other boats or out of range of from my camp, but
Mhm.
Coast Guard can hear me because I got out at, Curlew Island, which is out beyond Gosher Island, about 10 miles from the Chandelier Islands, and, I just out of curiosity, I called the Coast Guard station to see if they could hear me, and they could. I said,
Was that from your phone or VHF?
VHF radio."
Okay, gotcha. Okay, well, yeah, that's some range then.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they can reach out with the Coast Guard station and get you. And one
Mm,
time I had to call Rob Buck to come get me, and I was out of, where was it? Out of down Southwest Pass, out of range of my buddies. Didn't have a cell signal, but I called on my radio, I called Pilot Station at the end of Southwest Pass and told them I was aground and could they call Rob Buck to come get me, and they did.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think one thing a lot of people are going to now, and probably a lot of the guides down there, they're putting the Starlink on their boat to where you can just have a
When
cell signal at all times.
I would get one, when I win that Powerball, I want to go camp down there with the Starlink, but I don't have it on my boat.
Yeah,
Yeah, just on my boat right now.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
You don't need more of them, right?
Right.
Yeah, and your camp is, like, prime real estate. You're right next to the, marina, huh?
I'm the 3rd houseboat down from Venice Marina. The first big houseboat is Sportsman's Lodge, the second one is Tuna Town, and then mine's the 3rd one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Look at
It's
that.
nothing but
Was that
VIPs.
was that planned, or you just got that spot when it was right time?
My fishing buddy from South Carolina, Bobby Wilson, he got it. He and a partner of his, they were fishing the Redfish Tournament Trail at the time. And after Katrina, they found that one somewhere farther up the road, and they bought it and refurbished it and had a tugboat take it down to Venice. And they were they had it for years before I joined them on it, and Bobby kept asking me to buy into the houseboat, and he said, "Hey, we got a great deal." He said, "We got a guy from New Orleans who rents it for from June, July, and August, and his rent pays our dockage fee for all year long." I said, "Well,
Nice.
Bobby," I said, "I work the school calendar. Why do I want to buy a houseboat that I can't go to in the summer when I'm off?" And I said, "If y'all are concerned about the expenses, add a few more partners and don't rent the place. You to quit renting it, I'll buy in." And they quit renting, and I bought in, and we got some great partners in it right now, and we all enjoy each other's company, and we're all good fishermen, and it's good.
That's
Awesome.
awesome.
Have you ever
Yeah.
thought about getting a bigger cutting board?
I've got 2 cutting boards. One's 24 inches and one's 20 inches wide, and we got a nice fish cleaning station right down there. And our cutting boards work fine because we can't have but so many people that swinging knives around like out there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Speaking of swinging knives, who do me and, Boyce need to stab to get into the, houseboat? You know? What's the waiting list look like?
You'll be interested.
Yeah, well, yeah, we're gonna come down in May, so if you're down there in May, early
Well,
May,
you're coming, and I'll do my because I'm going week after next, as a matter of fact, and then I'll be going a lot now that the weather's warming back up.
Yeah,
yeah,
the time's coming.
yeah, we'd love to swing by and see you. We usually get a house for a couple days, a lot of spots you marked,
When
we'll
you're going,
probably
we'll cross paths down there.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. Oh, yeah,
um,
we'll be down there
If
not
my
too
boat's
long.
full, you can come go with me or follow me.
Oh my goodness. Clearing my
dive
schedule
boat island.
now.
Yeah,
Clearing my schedule
would
now.
love it, would
Yeah,
love it.
there's nothing special about me, fellas. I'm just a regular old guy with no.
Oh, okay.
Hey, we're regular old guys too, and we just appreciate guys who go out there and they earn their fish, and they're not arrogant about it, and they know what
Yeah.
they're doing, and they learn from experience, and that's what you are. We admire that.
Well,
Yeah.
I time on water when you get to be old as I am, you've had a lot of time, a lot of time on the water, and
Yeah.
as long as I can go wade fishing, I get up and I walk 8 or 10 miles every morning, and
Good for
as
you.
Man, that's awesome. Have you done any wade fishing in Texas, or are you strictly
about half.
Venice?
As a matter of fact, the guys that started me wade fishing, Russell Glenwickle, he invited a couple of buddies and me to go out there go wade fishing with him, and I was very, very disappointed, frankly. The wind was blowing, and
Yeah.
we caught fish, but we didn't catch a trophy, and we didn't catch nearly as many fish. If I spent the same amount of time fishing in Venice, I'd had a lot of fish. I wouldn't have had any 30-inch fish, but I still had a lot of fish. But I did enjoy fishing what they fish down there, so now I can say I've been there.
Yeah.
And I don't think they catch as many fish as we catch in Venice. They catch bigger fish, but and that's what they take all the pictures of. But
Yeah.
now
The
you can't keep them. I can take you to Venice where we can catch big fish. You just can't keep the two of them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I feel like that story is very like me and boys obviously want to go to Texas because we want to catch big trout, and then we've got some guests on here that have invited us to go to Texas, and it's like, man, I want to go, but at the same time, everyone I hear is like, yeah, I went there and it was all wind blown, and apparently that area gets tons of wind, and so you really gotta time it right, and then even when you do, the wind could change that afternoon. You don't even know.
It's all
So
about timing. And if I lived in Texas, I'd be hammering that coast all the time also, and I'd probably have me a 30-inch fish. But
yeah, I'm
the-
sure.
but just to go out there for a weekend and try to catch one, that's tough.
Yeah. So, I'm interested in hearing about the Alaska trip because that to me sounds
Oh,
very interesting. I'm
unbelievable.
trying to keep it. I'm thinking of your when we had the call and your daughter was like, "You got to keep it on track. Keep the train on the track." But I am very interested about that, so I might
Uh,
talk to you about that in May.
I've been
Yeah.
salmon fishing, halibut fishing, uh,
Wow, that
out.
sounds awesome.
But going up there, driving is the way to go. And tent camping along the way, you see a pretty lake or a pretty river, creek, just pull over and camp and enjoy smell the roses. Then I left it up there with a buddy, left the RV up there stored with a buddy so I could come back. I came back and rafted the Grand Canyon with a bunch of buddies. And then I flew back up in September. I wanted to see a different season up in Alaska. So after we rafted the Grand Canyon, I flew back up there and drove it back and put 15,000 miles on my SUV. Matter of fact, my SUV is a 1997 Suburban with 500,000 miles on it. I didn't care.
Wow. That's awesome. That's amazing. So tell me about your hat.
Oh, can you see that?
Yep.
Yes.
I make barbecue sauce, Harold's Hogwash.
Uh-oh. Let's
Nice.
hear it.
That's Harold's Hogwash.
Oh, very nice. It's a Carolina-based sauce, I'm sure.
The Carter boys down there about Harold's Hogwash. Ask any of the good Jamie Taylor. Jamie Taylor's an excellent guy down there too. Ask any of those boys. They all have hogwash in their camp right now.
I've heard good things. I've heard good things.
Hey, it'll cure what ails you.
So you what's the best way to cook speckled trout with the hogwash?
I don't do that personally.
No, okay, all
Sacrilege.
right, all right.
The My sauce is what you might call it's not hot. It's not hot or spicy, but it is full flavored. It's got a good, strong, firm flavor. And a speckled trout is a delicate fish, and I think you can overpower a trout with barbecue sauce. That's just me personally.
All right, look,
Yeah.
honesty's the best, and if that's what the man makes it says, then that's what goes.
But
So
go ahead.
yeah, I gotta ask you, LA 23. You ever stop by there and get some barbecue sauce?
Also, Harold's Hog
Nice.
Rub.
Harold's hog
Nice.
rub too.
If you
We're gonna
eat salmon, cover that salmon with that rub, put a couple pads of butter on it, and grill it. Get like that butter get in and caramelize with that rub.
Oh,
oh yeah. Everything
now we talking.
everything's better with butter. Yeah, we're gonna get some for the Venice trip for sure. I wish I had enough time to cook a whole hog because I actually love smoking pork butts. That's like one of my favorite wintertime traditions is put all day pork butt on. I just haven't had time to do it these days. you know.
I hit trout last night, as a matter of fact.
Nice. Very nice. So, I mean, you obviously spent a lot of time in Venice, and then you've got a lot of, a lot of great people down there. You fish with a lot of great people. Who are three people that you think that we should have on the show?
Uh, I'd get Rudy Hall. I'd get Brandon Carter, Brandon and or John. Get them both on together.
Yeah, we'd love both of them
Perfect.
together.
Yeah.
And they are just killers. Uh, Jamie Taylor's a good one.
Yeah.
I like it.
Three
Yeah.
guys. You
That's
think you
some
can help
legends
us?
right there.
Yeah. The Venice legends from the legend himself.
And
You think you could?
do y'all know Paul Miller?
Hmm.
The name is very familiar.
Yeah, so I've listened to his podcast before.
Yeah, Paul Miller. He used to work with Mexican Gulf, and he ran their inshore and nearshore boats.
Hmm.
And but he's traveled the world scuba diving. He
Yes.
is a wealth of knowledge for a young man his age, early 30s. He is brilliant. He knows all about fishing, and what I really, really, really like about Paul is a great guy to spend the day in the boat with because he wants to help you become a better fisherman. A lot of guys, they're getting paid for it. That's work to them, and they want you to go out there, keep your mouth shut, and they want you to catch your limited fish as quickly as they can and get you back to the camp, get you back to the marina with your limited fish, clean your fish, so they can get back and clean their boat and get ready for the next day. And I just haven't found many guys that are interested in showing you where to fish, how to fish, and why to fish. Uh, Paul Miller takes time with you, and if you listen to any of these guys' podcasts or read their Facebook threads, and I get it because I've done that. I got my captain's license back in 1975, but I'm done with that. And people say, "This must be nice to have somebody pay you to take them fishing." Well, when you're a guide and you take all comers, whoever calls up and makes an appointment, it's hard to spend a day in a boat's a small place. It's hard to spend a day in a boat with somebody that you don't click with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't have that many spring times left in me. I'm gonna spend my spring time with people I like.
Yeah, I'm with
I
you.
hear you.
I'm all,
Amen.
I'm all about fun fishing. When you go fishing and come back, and people say, "Where you been?" "I've been fishing." What's the first question they ask you?
Where'd you go?
No, it's not.
How many did you
Oh, that's the
catch?
first thing they asked me.
You catch. How many did you catch?
And then
How big were they? How many did you catch and how big were they?
uh
The
Yeah.
question they never asked you, did you have a good time?
huh.
Never been asked
You
Yeah,
ever.
never
no,
been asked.
No. How
That's
quick
what
did you
you
get
go
your
for,
limit?
for a good time. That's what I go
Yeah.
for.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's underrated. I mean, most people they assume they equate catching fish to having fun, but there's obviously multiple ways to catch fish. And then, you catch three on top water. That's catching a limit
That's,
on a
or
jig or a fork.
if I go out there and I catch two over 20 inches and I have 4, 5, 4, 18 to 20 inches, I'd rather do that than come back with a box with a limit of 12 and 14-inch fish. I mean, 13, 14-inch fish. I don't go down there to target 13, 14, 15-inch fish even. I want a bigger fish. That's just
yeah,
what I want.
I'm with you. I mean, and they're available.
If there are no big ones biting, well, I'll catch those and I'll be happy to eat them and all that. But my
Yeah.
my goal is to catch bigger fish.
Yeah. Speaking about goals, I mean, you have obviously a ton of experience. I would consider you a very deep guy in terms of, your philosophy. So what are you most passionate about, both in fishing and I guess in life?
I love to travel. Uh, is that what you're talking about? Besides
Yeah.
fishing? Well, I love to travel. I love travel. I love fine dining. Uh, I, I've been to South Africa twice in the last 2 years, but we've been on 6 or 8 safaris each trip. And we went to South Africa, Zimbabwe, Botswana, and it's a completely eye-opening experience. I didn't want to go for years, and then a buddy, college classmate, finally talked me into coming down, and he set everything up for us, and it was just absolutely amazing. And
Yeah.
a humbling experience. People in this country don't know how good we have it over here.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think travel opens up a lot of, you
And,
know,
you know, I've rafted the Grand Canyon twice now, and I've hiked to the bottom of it. I've been to all 50 states. So
Have you ever considered writing a book?
I've had I've lost count of the people who have asked me that. But,
I think you got the title of your book.
but again, truly, I just think I'm another one of the guys, and why would anybody want to read what I write? And so, yeah,
I think a lot more people do than you think.
Yeah.
I've been asked that a number of times, and I've got the first page of it written.
Let's hear it. Yeah, you got it. You got it handy.
No, I don't.
Well,
But I've thought about it, and maybe when I'm getting laid up, and one of these days I'm gonna be suffering from TMB. We all are probably, and y'all know what TMB is, don't
You know, what
no.
tell us what it is.
too many birthdays.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah. Wow.
And when I start suffering from TMB and I can't go and do like I do now, then I may be still long enough. A lot of my friends say, "Harold, you gonna be in town this weekend?" My standard answer: "If I am, it's only due to poor planning on my part." Every day
Hey,
I remind myself, this is the youngest I'm ever gonna be, and if there's something I need to do, I need to go do it right now.
that's
Yeah.
a good way to look at life.
And
I
so if
mean, no matter the age, you know.
best if you go somewhere, you don't better be serious because I'll be there.
Yeah,
That's a good way
absolutely.
to look at it.
I've been
Uh,
blessed beyond words.
yeah. So, what's your next birthday? How old are you gonna be?
My birthday's in October. I'll be
Okay.
79.
79.
79.
Yep.
And you've been to all 50 states and went camping by yourself and go fishing in Venice and wade fishing. And then,
I read
there's no
about myself too. Friends fussed at me about that, but I think nothing out in my boat and driving the 39, 40 miles out to curlew and wade fishing all that there by myself. But
What
that's
kind of what do you eat? I'm sure you eat very clean and healthy to stay this active.
well, I drink a bottle of barbecue sauce, my hogwash every day. Not really, not really. Uh,
the secret.
I try to eat healthy, and I try to, like I say, I walk every morning, and my phone has been keeping track of my steps. And over the 6 years I've been tracking it, I've walked 16 million steps, which is 9,345 miles. So that's back. That's to the West Coast, back, and then back again, and part of the way back. But
Mm.
uh, there's some buddies of mine now. I have a mountain house up in East Tennessee, and some buddies now were up there, college classmates, and one of them made this comment, said, guys, when we retire, our number one focus should be on our health, because if we don't have that, we don't have anything. Well, that's true, and uh, you need to think about it when you're your age, because if you don't have your health, everything else is out the window. And
True.
but what do I eat? I'll eat for breakfast. I'll have a bowl of steel cut oats with some blueberries and strawberries and raspberries with some cinnamon on it. Or I might get a piece of Ezekiel bread. It's the best bread you can buy. Ezekiel bread is good for you. All the rest of it is poison. But Ezekiel bread with some avocado on it, and I'll either have a boiled egg that I'll chop up and put on top of uh, my avocado when I chop it up and put it on there, and sprinkle some garlic powder, salt and pepper on it, a little bit of salt, a lot of pepper. That's a great snack. And then I like fish. I like baked fish, grilled fish. I like fried fish, but trying to stay off of that now. But I like greens, spinach salad with all my berries and nuts and all that stuff. And yogurt's good with blueberries, strawberries, shaved almonds. Sprinkle some coconut in there. Sprinkle cinnamon all over it.
So real food, nothing but
This
real
is
food.
Spend my time in the produce section of the grocery store.
There you go.
And
this you heard
yeah,
it here first.
I like steaks too, and I do that. But I've heard you shouldn't eat steak every day, so I've got them stacked up in my freezer, but I don't eat them every day.
That's why you got to fish.
Just don't,
Yeah.
I'm off of sugar. I'm off of breads and carbs and rice and pasta and little Debbie cakes and honey buns. People come and bring food on my boat. It's poison. I say, y'all, what are y'all eating that for? I bring apples and oranges and stuff like that.
Sandwiches. Sandwiches made with Ezekiel bread, I'm guessing.
That's right. You make the
Yeah.
sandwich out there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So you heard it here first. You want to live forever, you got to eat like Harold, and you too can wade fish Venice.
My buddy said, "Harold, you're gonna die too." I said, "I know it. I know I'm gonna die. I just want to be healthy until I die, because I
Yeah.
got stuff to do."
That's right.
Got to break the Dirty 30 Club. Got to get
So
that 30-inch trout.
I'm gonna hold y'all to it. Y'all got to come down and go fishing with me.
Yes, sir.
We absolutely will.
You don't have to worry about that.
You do not have to worry.
We're gonna be bugging you, and then I'm gonna try and get some stuff to put this hogwash on. Where can
That's
people
right.
buy it?
Matter of fact, talk. What's the name of the fish? Chris Specialty Foods, and
Yeah, in Baton Rouge.
one in Metairie also.
Oh, that's right. That's
Ooh,
right.
perfect. That's where I live.
In Metairie,
Yep.
you ever been to Drago's?
Oh yeah.
I've been to Drago's. My uncle actually supplies the oysters for Drago's for their specialty oysters. Those are Salty Coast out of Alabama.
Ooh, you're gonna make some people
Yeah.
angry here in Louisiana.
Yeah.
My best friend in New Orleans lives in Metairie, Lenny Sumich, and he lived across the street from Drago. And
Yeah.
Did he?
well, that was before Drago increased the size of their place out there in Metairie. And whenever I'd go there with Lenny, they'd always say, "Lenny, your table is right over here, sir. Come right this way."
Nice. VIP.
VIP treatment. I love it. And it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Oh, no doubt about that.
That'll take you around the world.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on, and
Yeah, this has been an absolute treat.
yeah, this has been awesome. So
We can
I really appreciate it. Yeah, I would love to. That's my dream. So yeah, we're coming down end of April. I feel like we say it on every podcast. I feel like there's gonna be like 100 people that show up, but we definitely want to see you, Harold, when we go
Yes,
down there.
We will be there.
Look on my calendar here. I'll tell you.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be official now.
Yeah. Official. So April 30th through, what is it?
Through May 2nd.
2nd. Yeah.
April 30th. So that Thursdays or Saturday?
Yes, sir.
Looks okay, because you'll be there for the opening of snapper season.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
Opens on the 1st.
We're trying to go get a little trout limit, then a little snapper limit, and then eat good for the weekend.
Yeah.
Give me a shout, fellas. Stay in touch, and we'll have a big time.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, Mr. Harold.